Greetings, pen pals, and I am back. Sorry for taking such a long break. Nothing overly spectacular happened or any particular reason. I've just been super busy lately, both professionally and personally. On the personal front, the main thing I've been busy with is I'm in the process of transitioning from having a single residence to having two residences in two different states. That's been a bit hectic, but we're kind of trying to get settled into a new mode here. So that is why I've just been busy and things have been taking so long. The good news is where I'm filming this from now, I have a lot more space to leave my equipment and camera and everything all set up and ready to go. So I'm hoping I'll actually be able to shoot more videos frequently as time moves forward, because I'd be able to have my setup, my camera, my lights, everything all set up. So I literally would just have to sit down and shoot a video. In the past, I didn't really have a lot of space, so I had to take all my equipment, set it up, shoot the video, put it away, etc. So it became somewhat tedious. That is not now changing, so that's the good news. So I am back. I apologize to those of you who have been missing out on having my videos, and I really want to thank all of you for expressing how much you missed seeing them. There is no better feeling than being missed, I have to say that. So that being said, let's get right to it. This pen is not a Pilot Vanishing Point. This is a Pilot Vanishing Point. So yes, the pen we're talking about here today is the Moonman Model A1, which is a homage / clone, etc. of the Pilot Vanishing Point. Now, they do make the Pilot Vanishing Point in this exact colorway, this sort of all matte black stealth version. I do not own one. I own several Pilot Vanishing Points. This one I have here is sometimes called the Stormtrooper one for obvious reasons. It's just forget about the colors for a minute. Let's just concentrate on the features. Given that this is stealth and all black, it's going to be a little hard to show up on the camera, but we will do the best we can with that. So let's just talk about a couple of things. For all intents and purposes, this is really a clone. They're almost the exact same weight. They're certainly the exact same size, length, and girth, and everything else. Weight, they're practically exactly the same. 32 grams for the Pilot Vanishing Point with a Pilot Squeeze converter in it. 34 grams for the Moonman A1 with the filling mechanism that they have in it, which we'll get to in a minute. And these are, for all intents and purposes, clones of each other. The Moonman one does have some branding on it. It does say Moonman, and then it has sort of a design feature along the band here, which is obviously not present on the Pilot, but the style of the clips, for example, are identical. The business end of the pen, for all intents and purposes, is identical. The push buttons are identical. They have virtually the identical throw, and they pretty much feel the same, at least to me. Anyway, let's open this up and we'll talk about the insides of it, which are really kind of interesting. The build quality seems quite excellent. It works just like the Pilot one, where it's got the notch there and the little nub that engages this filling unit. The inner unit. Let's take the converter and the filling mechanism out for a minute, because we're gonna have a whole separate discussion about that. And let's compare the Pilot nib unit and the Moonman nib unit. Now I have to actually keep these straight because they are so easy to confuse with each other, because they are really quite identical. And the nice thing is they are swappable and completely compatible. So here I will take the Pilot nib unit and I'm going to put it in the Moonman pen. Let's even do one better. We'll take the Pilot Squeeze converter. We'll put it in the Moonman nib unit. We'll then take the Moonman nib unit, put it in a Moonman pen, and you will see it will work perfectly fine. There you go. So for all intents and purposes, this is really 100% compatible, Pilot compatible pen. So let's set our pilot components aside for just a moment, but keep in mind you can use a whole array of pilot converters in this pen. So for example, here is a Pilot Con 40 converter, and it will just fit just fine in the Moonman pen, and you'll be able to operate it just fine with that. So that is actually a quite a nice feature to have the ability to use any pilot converter that will fit in the vanishing point. So for example, you can't put a Con 70 in here or something like that, but you're essentially buying a clone of a pilot vanishing point. So let's talk about the Moonman pen. So it comes shipped with a cartridge protector. So if you're going to use a pilot cartridge, you need to protect the back of the cartridge, and this is the same with the pilot version of this pen. The problem is from the pen retracting, it actually slams. I went and shot it out there. The spring is actually quite intense here, and as it's converting, retracting, there's actually quite a bit of force. So it's actually hitting the back of the pen quite forcefully as it retracts. So you need this. If you're going to use a pilot cartridge, you need to actually have this protector over it. What it comes with is very interesting. So the Moonman pen comes with this nice little box, and in it, it comes with a converter. Nothing special, just a normal screw piston converter. And then it comes with 3 of these refillable cartridges, 2 of which have plugs on the end for traveling. Now, I don't recommend personally traveling with extra ink. When I travel, I never ever travel with extra ink, and I've traveled all over the world for decades, always bringing fountain pens with me, but I've never once brought extra ink with me. What I do is I bring extra pens, and so that I think is just the better strategy. So, and it comes with this little pipette for filling it. So what we're going to do for this video is we're going to try this out. So we're using this pipette. We're going to fill this refillable cartridge up. We'll put it in our vanishing point, or not vanishing point, our Moonman nib unit, and we'll see how that writes. So this is a Moonman extra fine version of this unit. Of course, this is a steel nib. On the pilot pen, you're getting a gold nib, etc. So let's get to it, and let's fill this guy up. We're going to use an ink I haven't used in quite a while. This is Colorverse Opportunity. This is ink I got a few years ago from Colorverse. It's a pretty nice ink. It's a purple. And so we're just gonna, using this pipette, we're gonna fill up this cartridge. I'm gonna fill it almost to the top, but not quite. And there we go. And we're going to insert it into the back of the nib unit, and then put the protector sleeve on over it. And there we go. That's really all there is to it. And we're going to put it in our Moonman pen. And now, since we effectively eyedropper filled this pen, it never got a chance to get the feed wet, so we're going to let this sit vertical for a few minutes to let the ink travel down, and then we'll try writing with it. We'll be right back. Okay, folks, what we're writing with here today is a Moonman model A1, and this has an extra fine steel nib. And this is actually, right out of the box, I'd say is quite smooth. I would definitely agree with its classification as an extra fine, so I think they did they'll get a check mark for that. So this flows well. etc. Now, in terms of the overall feel of this pen, everything that you've ever read or any opinion you might have that applies to a Pilot Vanishing Point, you really need to apply exactly the same to this pen. So for example, a lot of people do not like this clip placement here because they have to essentially grip it by the clip. That would apply to this pen. If you don't like it on the Vanishing Point, you're certainly not going to like it on this pen. There are people that say they like the click mechanism, but it's too loud. So if you're in a meeting, it's too clicky. If you think the Vanishing Point is too clicky, you're going to think this is too clicky as well. If you just don't like the idea of a clickable, retractable fountain pen, well, then you're not going to like that here. So everything that you may have heard about a Pilot Vanishing Point, or any opinion that you may have about a Pilot Vanishing Point, really needs to apply equally to this pen. This pen is much cheaper than a Pilot Vanishing Point, but then again, you're not getting a gold nib. One use of this, which use that I might actually avail myself of, for example, if you have a Pilot Vanishing Point where either you damage the nib unit or you damage, say, the barrel. I have one where an older one from years ago where this whole part on the top just cracked and came off, so the pen's mostly not usable. I kept the nib unit around as a spare. Well, now I could put the Pilot nib unit in this pen and sort of salvage the nib unit without having to buy a whole another Vanishing Point. So if you want to use it for almost like parts for a Pilot Vanishing Point, if you have a Pilot Vanishing Point with a damaged nib unit, it's cheaper to buy this entire pen than to buy a replacement nib unit from Pilot. So there you go. That is my opinion on the Moonman A1. Let's talk about this ink now for a minute, shall we? Okay, as we said before, this ink is Colorverse Opportunity. And this is what I would classify as sort of a true purple, meaning it's not a purple, it's not a bluish ink. True purple. Right, so this is a real bona fide purple ink. And that's really what it is. There's no special features, there's no sheen, there's no shimmer, there's really not much in the way of shading, there's only very minor amounts of color variation, etc. But it is a very, very pretty, really nice shade of ink that behaves well. And is this actually takes me way back. I think this was only the second or third bottle of Colorverse ink that I ever bought. So when Colorverse first came to the US just a couple of years ago, this was one of my first introductions to Colorverse. I think the Voyager box set was the first Colorverse I bought, and I think this might have been the second. So it was very, very early on in my Colorverse journey, if you will. But anyway, that I think will just about do it for this video. Again, thank you very much for watching. And as always, until we see each other again, have a great day. Bye-bye.